Hello again, I'm Bud Churchward, and it's good to see you back. This is another video in my series about how to run and set up the Mr. Eggs macro keyer. Mr. Eggs is a keyer that you can build yourself. It's all simple, easy to put together, through-hole construction, comes with a fully programmed microcontroller chip to do all the tricks and things that you would want to do with your Mr. Eggs keyer. In this video, we're going to look at the keyer settings, how you might configure the many options available to you with this project. Stick around. We've configured our user settings. Now let's take a look at some of the keyer settings. We'll start by turning Mr. Eggs on. And when we come up now, because we've got the user settings set, it will always come up in CQ mode. It's ready to go out on the air. We need to switch now to our menus so that we can take care of settings. And in order to do this, we're going to have to hold our function key down for a total of 10 beeps. So let's count them as we go. That puts us into configuration mode. Now let's take a look at the keyer settings. So to do that, we'll go with 3 beeps off of this menu. And we have a whole set of choices here. A single beep, number 1 here, will take us to another group of choices. So we'll take a look at what we have here first. We can change the frequency of our tone. To do that, we will hold this down for 2 beeps. And now it's telling us to use our paddles to set the frequency that we want. If we use the left paddle, the frequency will get higher. If we use the right paddle, the frequency will get lower. And I can bring it back down. Okay, I'll leave it right there at 440 hertz from now. All we need is a single beep to save this settings. Now, these settings are stored in EEPROM, so anything changes that we make will always be there for us every time we power up the keyer, so we're good to go. We can turn our speaker on or off here. I'm going to leave it on. And we can switch the mode with the paddles. So if I go 4 beeps, we'll change the paddle configuration. Now the paddles are reversed, and some people like to have the left paddle be a dit, and some people like to have the left paddle be a DAW, so we have that choice. There's another choice here if I do 4 again. We can set it up so that it's actually a straight key, and it only uses one of the paddles, and you can send code as if it was a straight key, or if you had a straight key hooked up to the keyer instead of paddles, you might use this node. So I'm going to put it back to the normal mode again with 4 beeps. And we're back at normal. There are more settings. To see them, it says here number 1, next menu. We'll just take a look at that with a single beep. And now number 1 will take us back to the previous menu. So there are some settings here. Number 2 here is our beacon mode. Beacon mode allows you to configure your keyer to send out a message over and over again continuously, and you can also set a duration for the space between transmissions. So if you wanted to create a 10-meter CW beacon, you could use Mr. Eggs to do that. We'll talk about the beacon mode in a completely separate video. 3 is to simulate the fist mode. We might want to make our sending sound more natural, like it's being sent by a human being instead of mechanically being sent by a computer. What it does is it randomly changes the spacing by a few milliseconds between characters. All of the characters themselves will be set at whatever speed you have them set at, but the space between the characters and the space between words will vary slightly, creating the feeling that is a human being doing this sending, not a computer doing it for you. 4 beeps would take us into a menu where we could restore all of these settings, and we don't want to do that right now. But remember, if we put in more beeps than we see in our choices, we will go back a menu. So let's put in 5 beeps and back up. And this brings us back to the main menu. We'll get out of the main menu with 4 beeps. In the next video, we'll talk about settings that you can change on the fly while you're in CQ mode or even while you're in a QSO. We've buried those user settings and those keyer settings deep under a menu that takes 10 beeps to get to them. They're not things that you're going to change very often, but there are more settings that you might want to change. You might want to change when you're actually in a QSO. Before we talk about those, however, we need to stop and take a look at macros. In the next video in this series, we're going to talk about macros, in particular hard macros, the ones that are pre-programmed right into Mr. Rags. We'll take a look at how to use them, and we'll even demonstrate on how they might come together in an actual QSO that you might have. Before we move on to the next video, I'd like to remind you that you too can build your own Mr. Rags macro keyer. It's a fun and easy kit to put together. It's all through-hole construction. You can do it in an evening. If you'd like to find out more about how to do that, point your phone at this QR code up here or click on the link below in the description. We'll see you soon. And hey, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.